everyone, I'm Asha. Welcome to another edition of the Girl Talk HQ Weekly Wrap-Up. Today's video is all about the Free the Nipple movement. And contrary to popular belief, it's not just about public nudity, toplessness, or women just getting their tits out. While most of us probably know that posting topless photos and posting nude photos are banned from places like Facebook and Instagram. And this is pretty much why Rihanna had her Instagram account cancelled. But Facebook this week just made a landmark decision and actually changed their policy a little bit when it comes to nude photos, because there are different types of nude photos. Breastfeeding photos and women who have had mastectomies. These photos have been posted on various social media accounts and they've been in the news a little bit because Facebook has seen them as public nudity and taken them down, causing a huge uproar. So here's what they changed their policy to. It reads, "We aspire to protect people's right to share content of personal information, whether those are a sculpture of Michelangelo's David," there's a bit of nudity in that, "or if it's a photo of a breastfeeding mum. Photos that show a nursing mother's other breast will be allowed, even if it is fully exposed, as will mastectomy photos showing the other breast." I think it's pretty amazing for them to come out and acknowledge that women who've had breast cancer and survived and women who are breastfeeding are not the same as people like Rihanna who just want to get nude for nudity's sake. You may remember the story of an Australian woman. Her name is Beth Wonga. She's a cancer survivor. She's a young woman. She posted a photo of herself naked. She's had a double mastectomy. She posted that on Facebook. Facebook took it down. It went viral around the world. So these are the types of stories we're talking about where people are questioning, hang on a minute, Facebook, your privacy policy exists for a reason, but you've got to look at the finer details, because these are women who are sending an important message by posting these photos on social media. One of my awesome girlfriends, who is a nursing mother at the moment, she put it this way and said, photos of women breastfeeding their children can actually encourage other women and destigmatize breastfeeding and just say, hey, it's a normal thing. Remember the time when Angelina Jolie posted an op-ed piece in the New York Times about having a mastectomy because her mother died of breast cancer? After that piece went viral and everybody was talking about it, a lot of doctors around the US and around the world were saying they had such a huge influx of women wanting to get their breasts checked and wanting to look after their health. I mean, isn't that a positive thing? So same thing with Facebook changing their privacy policy. Now that women are allowed to put photos, don't you think it'll encourage other women to look after their bodies, get regular breast checks, and to possibly survive? But here's the thing about photos like that going online and going public. We need to stop making our personal preferences a regulation, because breastfeeding and surviving breast cancer and getting mastectomy, it's a normal thing. It's not like this weird avant-garde fetish kind of thing that's out there and people are like, ooh, that's gross. It's breastfeeding a child. It's our God-given right to breastfeed our children. I've heard way too many stories in the news here in the US of women who are out in a public place. Sometimes they're caught in a bind and they have to breastfeed their child. They may be in a movie theater or in a shopping mall or in a restaurant, wherever it is, and they've been told to leave or cover it up, like they're doing such a dirty and gross thing. And a lot of these women and their husbands, those husbands, they've complained to news stations saying, hey, check this out. My wife or I was breastfeeding my child, doing the most normal thing in the world, and I got told to cover it up because it was offensive. That's just so shameful. Another story I heard recently was talk show host Wendy Williams. Keep in mind, she has a huge, huge following. She went on a talk show and spoke about one of these instances where a young mom was breastfeeding at her graduation, because guess what? When a child's hungry, they gotta feed. So she was talking about this incident and she was like, listen, I'm all for breastfeeding, yada yada, but put it away. I don't wanna see it in public. It's this, that, and the other. And I was so bummed that Wendy Williams said that, because she's a woman of huge influence in a position of power, and she had the wherewithal to say something positive and inspire other women, and instead she just carried on the stigma and the negativity. So shame on you, Wendy Williams. I'm sorry. You're pushing your personal preference on all these other influential people and they're gonna think the same thing. So I really think celebrities and people in positions of power need to be spreading positive messages and differentiating between personal preference, laws, and what is a woman's God-given right. In my opinion, any law that regulates a woman's body and regulates a woman's right to celebrate these milestones like breastfeeding and breast cancer survival in particular, I think it's just another example of governments and organizations and lobby groups and society trying to regulate a woman's body and trying to dictate how we should be perceived. One of my favorite YouTubers of all time is Laci Green. I'm sure you've all heard of her. She posted a video recently, and I've put the link below if you want to watch it. She put a video out recently talking about all the reasons of why she's a feminist. One of the reasons really stood out to me. She said she's a feminist because in 2013, over 700 bills were proposed by Congress to regulate a woman's body. Over 700, that's insane. Want to know how many bills were proposed to regulate a man's body? 0. And that's how it should be for a woman's body. So thank you, Laci, for talking about this. Recently, I spoke about Scout Willis and her topless protest in New York City, and she was doing it in support of the Free the Nipple movement. And she was very adamant in pointing out that it's not about nudity, it's not about toplessness, it's about destigmatizing a woman's body. Here's the thing about women's bodies, and breasts in particular. A breast isn't a sexual thing unless you make it. It's like hamburgers. Hamburgers aren't gross or fetish or sexual, but you could make them. I really think it's about giving moms and breast cancer survivors the dignity to celebrate their milestones and for the rest of us to support them in their choices, whether we agree with them or not. I actually think the shame is on the people who say that it's offensive and gross and tell women to put their breasts away. Like, what is wrong with you? There are way worse things in the world to bitch about than a woman breastfeeding. Like, come on. We've got to look at this issue deeper, and we need to look at our laws and understand why they were put into place and maybe reevaluate them, just like Facebook has done. I really hope Instagram will change their policy. I understand they want to make it a safe place for adults and kids alike, but when you've got a woman who's posting a picture about her breast and she just had a mastectomy, or a breastfeeding child, it can be a positive and very empowering thing for a woman to see that. Now, if you want to find out more stories relating to women, women's issues, feminism, please check out my blog, girltalkhq.com. We should be able to use our voices to empower each other. Start a YouTube channel, start a blog, use your social media to speak up about important issues. Start a hashtag. You never know, it could go viral in the name of something positive. Check out girltalkhq.com, subscribe to Girl Talk HQ, this channel, and I will see you guys next week. And don't forget, free the nipple.